What's up, Raider Nation, and welcome to Taco-Bout Raiders Tuesday, True Raider Podcast. So, there's like a lot of things that are going on right now. I know a lot of the talk is right now about Garner Minshew, but there's actually some other things going on with the nation. I'm getting excited for the season, man. We're getting close. We got one more preseason game against San Francisco. Um, so I definitely want to get into it. What's up? What's up? Salute, Raider Ryan. What's going on? What's going on? So I'm going to go ahead and jump right in, man. I got some tacos barria that's waiting for me in the other room. I'm excited to get to that, but I definitely wanted to jump on with you guys. It's Tuesday. I'm here. But yeah, let's go ahead and start talking about a couple of things, man. So the first one is I wanted to talk about the best and worst PFF grades from preseason week 2. This article came out, and just wanted to touch on it real quick because I found it to be interesting. Says the Las Vegas Raiders wrapped up their second preseason game on Saturday, losing to the Dallas Cowboys 27-12. With preseason week 2 in the books, Pro Football Focus has released its grades and stats from the contest. Earning the highest overall grade on either side of the ball is defensive end Ellerson Smith, 81.7, who posted one tackle for loss and 2 QB pressures. Flipping over to the offensive side of the ball, tight end Cole Fotheringham boasts a 75.4 grade, including a 73.0 pass catching mark. Now we'll take a look at the best and worst Pro Football Focus grades for the Raiders in several different categories. So the top 10 overall grades for the offense were Cole Fotheringham, Andre James, Carter Bradley, DJ Turner, Trey Tucker, DJ Glaze, Clark Barrington center, tight end Harrison Bryant, running back Alexander Madison, and running back Sincere McCormick. Now the bottom 5 overall grades were QB Gardner Minshew, 42.6, wide receiver Ramel Keaton, Jalen McKenzie, offensive tackle, offensive guard Dylan Parham, and running back Tyreek McAllister. The top 10 overall grades for the defense were defensive end Ellerson Smith, 81.7. Then we got safety Trayvon Merrick, Amari Gaynor, Malcolm Kuntz, Divine Diablo, Adam Butler, Woo Governor, Marquand McCall, Chris Smith, and Robert Spillane. And our bottom 5 overall grades were MJ Devonshire, Ron Stone Jr., Nesta Jade Salvera, Phelan Sanford, Luke Masterson. And then the pass blocking grades, offensive line only. The highest was Jordan Meredith, guard, center Clark Barrington, Andre James, DJ Glaze, Will Putnam, Cody Whitehair, Andres Pete with a 65. He allowed 3 pressures. Jalen McKenzie, Dalton Wagner, Corey Luciano, Dylan Parham, Thayer Mumford, and Ben Brown. So Thayer Mumford's scoring pretty low on this right now. It's not good to see. So, I don't want to go into – let me see if there's anything else I wanted to hit real quick. One thing I wanted to point out is that we don't see Tyree Wilson on here at all. Like at all. So he's rolling mid. But yeah, some of these were a little bit shocking to me, man. Some of the players that we had in these higher grades were not people I was expecting. Some of the people in the lower grades, Thayer Mumford being in the lower grades, was something that was a little concerning to me. I'm a little bit, I'm wondering what they're going to do with this offensive line right now, right? Because Thayer Mumford has been, listed as right tackle, but DJ Glaze seems to be performing pretty well, and I know he's a rookie, he's a 3rd-round pick, but there could be a chance that DJ Glaze goes ahead and comes out and wins this job over Mumford at some point. And, I don't know, when they announce the official 53-man roster, the official depth chart, we're going to be able to see what's going on. Give a shout out to California Dave. Salute, man. That's what's up. Um, didn't know it was going to be a math quiz. I know, man. It seems like a lot, man. It seems like a lot. And yes, Raider Ryan, I did say, buddy, at tacos. Um, I did want some from since last time, bro, when we did the watch party, man. I've been thinking about them ever since. I figured I'd go ahead and wait till Tuesday. Um, Picked them up from the spot, man. We got a spot out here called Fusion Tacos, man, and it's legit for sure. They have some good agua fresca. It's just everything I've ever had from there is super on point. Um, we do have some exciting news right now, right? We got some good news, Raider Nation, and don't worry, I know the thumbnail, I'm gonna get to that in a minute, man. But I did want to talk about injury update. Um, Injury update for Las Vegas Raiders give huge injury update on starting offensive linemen. So if you guys have not already seen this, the Las Vegas Raiders have been without left tackle Colton Miller since the offseason began, as he has been recovering from offseason shoulder surgery. But the team provided some great news about the left tackle on Tuesday, with the Raiders announcing that Miller has been activated from the active physically unable to perform list, which will allow him to return to practice. After missing so much time, the Raiders will ease Miller back in, but he's got over 2 weeks to get ready before week 1 falls on Sunday, September 8th. It goes without saying how important Miller is. He's the Raiders' best offensive lineman, and he has been one of the better players at his position in the NFL. In Miller's absence, Las Vegas has been rolling with Andres Pete, who has struggled. With Miller back in the fold, the Raiders now have all of their offensive linemen who were projected to start healthy. Recently, second-round pick and left guard Jackson Powers Johnson was activated off the PUP list, though he isn't expected to start week 1 after missing a ton of time this offseason. Until JPJ is ready to go, veteran lineman Cody Whitehair, who was signed in free agency earlier this offseason, is expected to start in his place. So Cody Whitehair did score pretty good on those PFF grades. So we're going to see how that kind of unfolds, but having Colton Miller back is going to be huge, right? And he's a veteran on the team, man. He doesn't need too much offseason reps to be able to get into the fold. I think that he's going to go ahead and step in after the surgery, and he's going to look in full form by week 1. I do hope that we actually do see him a little bit in the preseason game against the 49ers, just to get him some of those live reps, and get out there. But it could be that they want to kind of hold him back just a little bit. But I'm excited, guys. I'm really excited because one of the big issues that we've been looking at is throughout the preseason with this quarterback battle is that our offensive line has been depleted. We didn't have Colton Miller. We didn't have Jackson Powers Johnson. So Andres Pete, as the article said, has been performing pretty poorly, right? And his PFF grades kind of reflect that as well. There's lots of times where he got beat. He got beat on that sack against Aiden O'Connell against the Vikings. There was lots of times where he got beat, and Gardner Minshew was having to run out of the pocket. So having our offensive line intact is going to be definitely legit. Now, I saw this video earlier today, and the guy was talking about how, the thing that AP said, right? And I pointed this out in the video I put out about AP announcing Gardner Minshew as our quarterback. But, he did say for the first quarter of the season, right, which he defined as 4 games. It's a little bit different. We got 17 games now, but, those first 4 games. And so if what this guy was saying was that, maybe they're rolling with Gardner Minshew for the first 4 games because our offensive line is kind of depleted, and that they wanted to wait until Jackson Powers Johnson was ready to go in order to start Aiden O'Connell, right? I don't personally think that that's what's going to happen. I think that the only way that we end up with Aiden O'Connell being our starting quarterback after 4 games is if we are getting losses. And I don't want that to happen. I don't want us to be in a position where we're rolling in to week 5. Aiden O'Connell gets announced as the starter and we're 1-3. I would hate for that to happen, and I'm not rooting for that. Definitely not rooting for Gardner Minshew to fail. In fact, I really like Gardner Minshew. I just didn't think it was going to be him. I thought it, since it was pretty comparable on the quarterback battle, that it was going to be Aiden's job, and I figured that Minshew would have to come out and really, really beat him in order to win that job. But that's not what happened. So we are where we are with that. And honestly, I think that Gardner Minshew gives us an excellent chance of coming out fast, winning some games. And the more tape I've seen on Gardner Minshew, the more just we talk about it. It's like what, like I honestly believe that we can make a playoff run with Gardner Minshew. That UDFA center is making noise. Hondo spoke highly of the kid. He is making noise, man. And also, that's the guy that got into it with Spillane and Crosby. And I like to hear that, that whole scuffle that happened wasn't coming from a UDFA that's not performing well, right? This is coming from a guy that's really performing well and, is projected to make this roster. And so that makes me feel better because then it's more likely that it's just on the field frustrations instead of personal stuff off the field. So real quick, I did also want to touch on another thing. I don't want to jump through too fast, man. I'm just thinking about them tacos, man, and I'm getting a little anxious, man. But yeah, I do believe that we are in a good position right now, even with Gardner Minshew. I've seen a lot of negative stuff going on about Gardner Minshew, man, and I don't like it, man, because he is a good quarterback. He really is, and I do like him. So there was speaking of injury stuff, Davante Adams didn't play in the preseason game, right? And there's this whole thing that came out that Davante Adams said that if it was up to him, he's not playing in the preseason. And then AP said, if you're healthy, then you're playing, right? And then he didn't play. So then there's speculation that there's some kind of beef going on with Davante Adams and Antonio Pierce. And so Antonio Adams injury update. Raiders wide receiver held out of Saturday's preseason game. Although the Las Vegas Raiders head coach Antonio Pierce suggested every starter would play in the club's Week 2 NFL preseason game, veteran wideout Davante Adams sat out while dealing with a minor injury. Why didn't Adams play in the Raiders exhibition game on Saturday, and what's his outlook moving forward? Davante Adams injury update. After Las Vegas Week 2 game against the Dallas Cowboys, Pierce said Adams didn't suit up because he suffered an injury during Wednesday's practice. The other night when we had the practice here at the stadium, Adams had an awkward movement where he just got sore, Pierce said, according to ESPN's Paul Gutierrez. He missed practice on Thursday, and like I said, if a guy is not 100% healthy, I wasn't going to risk it. It's not worth it. He'll be back to practice come Tuesday. With Adams sidelines, Trey Tucker and DJ Turner led the Raiders with 6 targets apiece against Dallas. Pierce named veteran Gardner Minshew Las Vegas starting quarterback after Week 2, choosing the offseason addition over incumbent Aiden O'Connell. Adams hasn't played in the preseason since 2016. Earlier this month, he indicated that his preference was to sit out in the exhibition campaign. Now, speculation is that this was all just a big old thing, just to use as an excuse for Adams to sit out, and that there's some conflict. Honestly, I don't believe there's a conflict. Davante even posted some stuff with him and AP on Instagram. I'm not even worried about all that, but I do wonder, about this awkward moment. If it was just like an excuse for him to not suit up because we don't want to risk Davante Adams getting injured in preseason, or if legitimately he did have an awkward moment that caused some kind of strain or soreness during practice. Because what I do want is for Devontae Adams to be walking in week one healthy. With the whole thing that happened last year with these hospital balls thrown by Jimmy G and all this stuff. I would hate for Devontae Adams to be walking in already, feeling kind of injured, feeling kind of sore, and then, maybe get some not so favorable passes, and then it turn into this big old thing, right? I don't think that we're going to end up dealing with that. Honestly, yes, Gardner Minshew has thrown up some passes that were kind of not very favorable, but there was a lot of things that went into this last preseason game, right? For one, we didn't have Colton Miller, Jackson Powers Johnson. Looks like he's not going to be in there for the first couple of weeks, so it's going to be Cody Whitehair. And actually, I want to bring up the unofficial depth chart because the Raiders did share their third unofficial depth chart. Let me see. Oh, there it is. So Raiders reveal third unofficial depth chart. So preseason is already nearing its end. But for those Las Vegas Raiders on the border of making the team, this week holds tremendous significance. On Monday, the Raiders released their third unofficial depth chart for training camp. The following is the updated depth chart as of August 19th. So this was as of yesterday. So on the offense, first string, we got Devontae Adams, of course, Colton Miller. Great to see him on there. Cody Whitehair is going to be our starting left guard, at least the unofficial depth chart as it says now. Andre James, Dylan Parham, Thayer Mumford. And then our tight ends, of course, we got Michael Mayer and Brock Bowers. They're both listed as first string. And then Jacoby Myers, Gardner Minshew, and Zamir White. So our second string comes out as Christian Wilkerson, Andres Pete, Jackson Powers Johnson is listed as second string, Ben Brown, which I'm surprised that it's not Will Putnam, because that's what Hondo Carpenter was kind of talking about, coming out of camp. And then we got Jordan Meredith, who scored high on the PFF grade. DJ Glaze, who's also scoring high, and he's looking pretty good out there on the field. And then we got tight end Harrison Bryant and Zach Gentry as our second string tight ends. Trey Tucker, Tulu Griffin, second string wide receivers. Aiden O'Connell is QB2, and then Alexander Madison. And then over here on the third string, the only real big surprises was Will Putnam at center. I thought he was going to be second. And then Cole Fotheringham, I keep thinking he's going to work his way up, but then we keep signing tight ends. And then DJ Turner is down here with Amir Abdullah, Britton Brown, Carter Bradley, right? And so then we get down to the fourth string. In that fourth string, the only real shocker to me is Dylan Laube, because I really thought Dylan Laube was higher up than Britton Brown, and I thought that he was more right neck and neck with Amir Abdullah, and that's not really looking so good on this depth chart. So I'm wondering what's going to come of that. I think that Dylan Laube is going to get a lot more reps against the 49ers. That way they can get a bigger picture of what's going on with him. But really, he's probably at first going to only do mostly special team stuff. Defense, there's no big shockers here, right? Max Crosby, John Jenkins, Christian Wilkins, Malcolm Kuntz, Divine Diablo, Robert Spillane, Nate Hobbs, Jacorian Bennett, Jack Jones, Trayvon Merrick, and Marcus Epps. I absolutely love that whole first string in our defense. There's always every year, one or two or five players that I'm like that's our weak point. I'm really worried about right here. I'm really worried about right there. But through all of these guys in their first string, I don't have a single worry, man. I love all of these players. I think that all of them are very good players, more than capable of making plays. And I'm excited for it, man. And then when we get into our second string, we still have some very good names in here, right? Tyree Wilson is looking very slow in preseason, and I'm wondering how much of that is just really that he's still very slow and maybe not going to ever translate to the NFL, or if Tyree Wilson is going to be, one of those guys that, yeah, he's getting a lot of reps in preseason, but maybe he's going to show out better when, regular season comes. There was some reports coming out that were talking trash about him, right? That he's a top 10 pick. He's going in his second year, and he looked average amongst fourth string players in preseason. And that's not a good thing to have attached to your name. So, yeah, there is some concern when it comes to Tyree Wilson and Byron Young. Byron Young, there was a lot of good talk about him coming out from camp. But during the preseason, what I saw was him getting pushed around. It did not look very good for Byron Young out there. So I'm wondering if, what that's going to look like in real game scenarios. But then we got Adam Butler. Adam Butler is great. I love Adam Butler. He recorded 6 sacks last year. He's used to playing along with Christian Wilkins, and I think that really he's going to have another good year. He wants to be in the conversation when it comes to Christian Wilkins and Max Crosby and Malcolm Kuntz. And so since he has that desire, I think he's putting in the work. Janarius Robinson, honestly, I didn't see anything too flashy from him, but, I'm hearing good things from camp. And then Luke Masterson had a very low grade on the PFF stuff. So there is rumor that Tommy Eichenberg is possibly coming for his job, but he's listed as outside linebacker. Tommy Eichenberg is listed as middle linebacker, so I don't know about all that. We haven't seen Tommy Eichenberg yet in preseason, so he's having a slow start to the year. I did hear something about an injury, but I don't really have exact, so I'm not going to go into it. And then MJ Devonshire, DeCamerion Richardson, those are our rookie cornerbacks. Both of them weren't looking too great, but they were also with, third and fourth string defense, and, they're in our second string. Brandon Faison, I have not seen him through preseason at all. He's still listed as second string, but I'm starting to wonder if he's even good from his injury, if he's coming back to play, what's going on. I haven't heard any reports on him. I have no idea what's going on with him. Then we got Isaiah Paul-Mal and Chris Smith, who both I thought both looked good out there in preseason. So then third string, these are guys that are projected to possibly, they're kind of on the bubble. Snowden, Matthew Butler, McCon McCall, Ellerson Smith, highest graded defensive player from the PFF stuff. We got Muaga, Amari Burney, Wu Governor, Sam Webb, Cornell Armstrong, Jaden Grant. I saw some good stuff from Jaden Grant out there, and Trey Taylor. So then our fourth string is guys that I think are on the outside looking in, maybe going to get practice squad stuff. But Nessa Jade Silvera scored low in the PFF grades, but there was some good word about him coming out of camp. And then Amari Gaynor, I felt, has looked good out there. So for him to be fourth string is a little confusing to me, but, it is what it is. So, yeah, that's our unofficial depth chart, man. And so Minshew's our guy, and we'll see what things look like moving forward. Richard Cheeseman, I'm not going to put you up on the screen, but we've been Raider fans, man. It takes a lot to be a Raider fan, right? When you end up seeing all these bandwagon fans, I remember a couple years back, there were so many Patriot fans everywhere, right? And now I never see anybody wearing a Patriots hat, a Patriots jersey, a Patriots nothing, right? So it's kind of easy to be a fan when, you're in the Super Bowl every year, right? And then all these Kansas City Chiefs fans popped out of nowhere, right? And it's like, where were you guys before, right? And they will disappear as well. But what's not going to disappear is true diehard fans of Raider Nation. So there's that. And also you're over here in a Raiders channel. So I don't know, man. It is what it is. Alonzo Gonzalez, salute, welcome, man, welcome. Tyree Feet of Stone Wilson. The dude is looking slow, man. Just he's looking slow. So, I don't really know what's going on with him, man. He's healthy. There was good reports that all off season about him that he's working out with Max. There's even some video where he looked pretty quick, and then all of a sudden we get in the game and something's going on with him, man. I don't know if it's like jitters, if it's a pressure, if it's something to do with processing. I don't know what's going on, man, but I saw a tape breakdown where they were showing that he is consistently the last guy off the line, and that's not good, man. I think he needs to get moved into defensive tackle. He seemed to perform a lot better there, where he can just use power moves and he has more of a straight shot, which it's really sad to see because his college tape looked really good, and I was excited to see what he was going to do in the NFL. I figured that he wasn't going to come out rookie year, especially with that injury, and just kind of shock everybody. But I figured by this year that he would really be performing well, a good compliment to the opposite side of Max Crosby. And that just is not the case right now, man. So I don't like that. And yeah, man, Alfredo, so we did sign another linebacker. I don't really have any information pulled up, man. Right before I got on, I saw a thing about it in my notifications. So I don't really know the details about it yet. From my understanding, it's probably more of like just another body out there. It didn't sound like it's anybody too flashy or anybody that's really expected to make the roster. But sometimes people come in like that and they really surprise, man. So something I wanted to do, man, is I wanted to, of course, the thumbnail, right? We're talking about Gardner Minshew versus Jimmy G, right? And I was talking with a friend earlier today, man, and he was really just saying like that he's feeling very negative about the season and not really sure. He's like, man, usually I'm pretty optimistic, but right now he's like, I'm not feeling that, and he's like, I hope I'm wrong, but as of right now, not feeling very optimistic at all. And so, you know, I started talking to him about, well, compare us to last year, right? What happened last year? How were you feeling? And he's like, well, I went last year and I was feeling pretty optimistic. And I said, okay, well, if we look at what we actually had going on last year, there was a lot going on. We had just gotten rid of Derek Carr, and getting rid of Derek Carr, had our whole fan base split, and everybody was kind of up in arms, wondering who's going to be our quarterback. Are we getting Aaron Rodgers? Are we getting Tom Brady? Are we, what are we actually going to do? And then it came out that, Josh McDaniels really actually thought he had Tom Brady lined up, and then Tom Brady shocked him and retired. And then since he retired, they supposedly contacted Derek Carr. Derek Carr was already pissed off and off the table. And so then he went to the next best thing, right? Which was somebody he figured already knew his system is going to be the best scheme fit. And so he went for Jimmy Garoppolo. And Jimmy Garoppolo, I got to tell you guys, is not somebody that I really thought was going to be that guy. I had hopes that maybe because of the system, the scheme fit, that maybe he would dink and dunk us down the field and that it would work out, right? But coming back from that injury, and then he ended up having that, he didn't even pass his physical, right? And so we got Josh McDaniels, that was a shit show. And then we got Jimmy G, and we knew that it wasn't going to work out, right? Most of us knew that. And so what other teams did was they stacked the box because they knew Jimmy G did not have the deep ball, that he really couldn't throw outside the numbers, and that he really works up the middle of the field. And so they stacked the box on us because their biggest threats were Jimmy G throwing up the middle of the field and Josh Jacobs, who had just won the rushing title. And so then they're stacking the box against us, and all of a sudden our running game is dead, throwing up the middle is dead, and they're making Jimmy G throw on the outside, try to throw the deep ball, and it's just not working. and we started off the season terrible, right? And so I explained to him, like, look, man, we have a better coach, right, with Antonio Pierce. I told him I believe we have a better offensive coordinator because the offensive coordinators we had last year were Josh McDaniels, which that did not work out at all. And then we had uh, Bo Hardegree calling plays. He had never been an offensive coordinator ever, and he's calling plays off of like a chopped up Josh McDaniels playbook, right? And so, okay, I'd say Luke Getsy's going to be better than that. And then we have a better defense, right? We've added Christian Wilkins. You add Christian Wilkins to this defense. Jack Jones had a full offseason with that. Like, there's no way that this defense is not better than it was last year, even with just Christian Wilkins, right? But then Max Crosby had surgeries and he's healthier than ever. They're saying he looks faster and more dominant than ever. So, okay, cool. Our defense is better. And then our quarterback play, right? Who would you rather have? Jimmy G or Garner Minshew? To me, that one's a no-brainer, right? If we won 8 games with all that happened last year, we even had a shot to get into the playoffs with, losing, we ended up firing Josh McDaniels on Halloween, interim head coach with an offensive coordinator that's never called plays, that didn't have his own playbook. Our defense carried us. We had games where we started Brian Hoyer. In O'Connell's first game, he got sacked 6 times by Khalil Mack alone. And we still won 8 games. And now we're projected to win 6, right? How were we projected to win 6 games when last year we won 8 games in a worse situation? There's no way that we're not walking into this in a better situation, right? And so I wanted to pull up, okay, what do the stats actually look like, right? Because we saw what the play looked like, right? But if you look at Jimmy G, and it's a little bit different when you compare stats like this, because when you have Jimmy G, he didn't play for the first couple of years, right? He really didn't. He didn't really get much play at all until like year 4 when he went to San Francisco. But that was only like 6 games. So he didn't really play a full season until 2019, year 6, right? And in year 6, he did put up pretty good numbers. He put up 3,900 passing yards, 27 touchdowns versus 13 interceptions. So passer rating of 102. That looks pretty good, right? And then you have the following year. He only played 6 games, right? Jimmy Glass, always getting injured. And then 2001, he played 15 games, 3,800 passing yards, 20 touchdowns versus 12 interceptions. And then in 2022, he only played 11 games. And the only reason he played those 11 games is because Trey Lance got injured. Jimmy G went in. He played 11 games, passed for 2,400 yards, 16 touchdowns to 4 interceptions, and then got injured. And Brock Purdy came in, right? And so then he ends up over here with the Raiders, plays 7 games. And in that 7 games, 1,200 yards, 7 touchdowns versus 9 interceptions. Got sacked 14 times, so that's twice a game on average, with a rating of 77.7, right? QBR is 33.9. So, that's looking awful, right? So when we got rid of Josh McDaniels, all that happened, we ended up getting Aiden O'Connell. So, Aiden O'Connell was a breath of fresh air for many of us, and we were pretty excited to have somebody who could actually throw deeper, somebody who has the potential to play better than what we were seeing out of Jimmy G and Brian Hoyer, right? That'd be like if we were starting Nathan Peterman. It just would be ridiculous. So if we pull up Garner Minshew stats, they look a little bit different because his career got started in a different way, right? In his rookie year, he played 14 games because, the Jaguars quarterback got injured and he got thrust into it. And in 14 games, he had 3,200 passing yards, 21 touchdowns versus 6 interceptions. with a rating of 91.2. So, overall, that was a pretty good year for him, right? And then the following year, he only played 9 games. In that 9 games, he had 16 touchdowns and 5 interceptions. Looked pretty good, 2,200 passing yards. But then in Philly, he really didn't play, right? 4 games, 5 games. And then last year, Anthony Richardson, who is somebody I actually, I wouldn't want to trade up for him, but I was like, man, if he's on the board at 7, I want to take him, right? Because I figured this dude's going to be legit. Gets injured right away, right? Because he's trying to be a running back instead of a quarterback. So Gardner Minshew goes and plays 17 games for the Colts. And in 17 games, 3,300 passing yards, 15 touchdowns, 9 interceptions, rating of 94.6. So those numbers aren't extremely good, right? He did have a winning record, and things went pretty well. But when I look at Jimmy G in the year that he played for the Raiders, and I look at Gardner Minshew, even with his inconsistencies, even with some of the things that worry me about Gardner Minshew, right? Because Gardner Minshew is one of those guys that last year when we were going through all that stuff and I saw him playing on the Colts, I was like, man, I wish we had that dude, because I didn't really know what to think about rookie Aiden O'Connell. Um, and I was thinking Gardner Minshew's over here winning games. Maybe that's who we need, right? And now that we have him, then it was like, well, I don't know. Is Aiden O'Connell going to perform better in year 2 than he did in year 1? Is he going to perform better than Minshew, right? But the fact that, they selected him to be QB1 for a couple reasons, right? And that's because they wanted his experience and, his ability to extend plays. And they feel like he's more of a sure thing coming out the gate that's going to get us wins, right? Because really we're in win now mode, right? Um, I think that it would be very obvious if we're not in win now mode, because then you'd start seeing weird things like Devontae Adams getting traded and weird things like that, right? Um, and I don't think that Antonio Pierce necessarily has a really long leash, and I don't think Luke Getzey or Tom Telesco do either. Mark Davis has proven that he's not afraid to move on, right? And so if AP, Luke Getzey, and Tom Telesco don't get their shit together in the first couple of years, I think they're going to be gone. And it sucks to go into that and not, like, for them to not have the quarterback that they want, right? Um, I'm pretty convinced that Jane Daniels was definitely the guy that they wanted. When they called the Commanders weren't selling, and so you can't buy something that's not being sold. So they couldn't move up to that pick. And so then they had conversations with the Vikings and the Broncos about quarterbacks, and all of them had agreed we're going to stay where we are. That way we can all get the quarterbacks that we want, right? Because the Vikings wanted J.J. McCarthy, Broncos wanted Bo Nix, and we were going to take Michael Penix Jr. And then the Falcons threw a wrench in everything at number 8, and they decided, was it 8 or 9? I think it was number 8. Anyway, the Falcons, after paying Kirk Cousins this huge contract with all this guaranteed money, all of a sudden they're drafting Michael Penix Jr., which threw a whole wrench in everything, and we ended up with Brock Bowers, which I'm really happy about the addition of Brock Bowers. And there wasn't any conversation during the game of, against the Cowboys that Brock Bowers wasn't in there at all. They didn't have to make up some injury for him, but they did for Devontae just because some things got said in the presser. But then there's no question about Brock. And, I don't want him to be out there and getting hurt. I don't know that he really needs the reps. He got a couple of reps in preseason, and that's good. He's had a good training camp. He's coming in as so dominant from college football that I think that it's going to translate immediately in the NFL. And, I think that players like him are going to give Gardner Minshew a better chance. And I don't know too much details about it, but I heard on a thing that I was listening to this morning on the way to work that Gardner Minshew actually has experience playing in 12 personnel, and I didn't know that, and I don't know enough about the situation to really talk too many details about it. But the fact to hear that, that's an amazing thing, right? I think that that's going to be something that also contributes to Gardner Minshew being the guy to win the QB1 spot where he is right now, is that he already knows how to play in this kind of offense. So, the worries that I have about Garner Minshew are just, that sometimes he jumps out of the pocket too quick. Um, Sometimes when he's a gunslinger, right? And so sometimes when he's making some of these, I guess, erratic kind of throws, like there was one to Michael Mayer where he was on the run, he throws it to Michael Mayer, and the defensive back was in front of Michael Mayer, and Michael Mayer had to play defensive back on that guy and break up the pass, and so there's certain things like that that kind of worry me. Minshew also has, a history of interceptions and fumbles, and so if those kind of things get kind of cleaned up, I'm going to have some confidence in him moving forward. Billy Davis, salute, man. Glad you made it. Glad you made it. You know, I don't know, man. You guys let me know what you think, right? What's your confidence level right now? Because what I see right now is a lot of the nation is kind of split, right? I think that there was a lot of people that were convinced that it was going to be Aiden O'Connell. I was one of them. Not that I was, necessarily rooting for Aiden O'Connell or thinking that he's our only option or our absolute best option. It just I figured Aiden O'Connell was going to win it because of him being in his second year, potentially having a higher ceiling, being on a cheaper contract, all these things, you know. And so there's a couple people out there creating content that are in shock, and they've said some things that I don't know how they'll feel about it later. For me, I talked about the coin flip, right? Of that being a deciding factor of what it is that I really want, and maybe after sleeping on it, I really feel the effects of that and know how I really felt. But really, where we're at right now is I still don't feel like, ah, man, I really wish it was the other guy, and I really don't feel like, yes, I'm glad it's this guy. Like, I'm just kind of like, okay, like, I really think both quarterbacks are pretty comparable, and I do agree that Gardner Minshew is going to be offering some stuff, um, especially in those first four games. We start two games on the road and then two at home, and these are teams that have a really good pass rush, most of them, and our offensive line is depleted. And I think that they're right that Gardner Minshew stands a better chance of taking less sacks and putting us in a position to be in the win column in those first couple of weeks. And if Gardner Minshew comes out and is at least 3-1, 2-2, 4-0, whatever that looks like, if it's in the winning column or 50, 500 or better, then he's going to remain in that spot. Now, if Gardner Minshew comes out 0-4 or 1-3, they're probably going to pull out Aiden O'Connell, right? And that's going to be the hard thing that we're going to be looking at is that, social media is going to be blowing up, man. Mainstream media is going to be blowing up. Anytime that Minshew makes a mistake, oh, he threw a pick. Oh, he, is having these 3-and-outs. He's taking sacks or, whatever it may be. He's throwing hospital balls. Like, people are going to have stuff to say. And then there's going to be a bunch of people saying, "Oh, we need Aiden O'Connell to come in." Da da da. And really, where I stand is Garner Minshew's our guy, right? And I'm rooting for him to succeed. No player is above the shield, and that's all I want, man. Is for us to be getting in that win column, man. So mine's low. Started thinking 7 wins after this preseason. I feel the same, And for me, I've said it before that I feel that we're somewhere between 9 and 11 wins, and I'm thinking that we're probably going to hit 10. I still feel that way, even after preseason woes, man. I mean, we go into preseason and we don't have Devontae Adams, only Brock Bowers sometimes. Of course, we're not revealing our whole playbook. Depleted offensive line, and we weren't running the ball as much as we normally would because they're trying to see what these quarterbacks have in the passing game, right? And so with either starting QB, I still feel like we're going to be about 10 wins, right? I do believe that we'll finish second in our division. I don't think that we're going to beat out the Chiefs for the division this year. I would love for it to happen. I think it's possible. I don't really think it's going to happen necessarily. If I had to put money on it, I would not. If I had to put money on us beating out the Chargers and the Broncos, I would. I'm actually still considering it. Let's see, Billy Davis. We're going to win the AFC West and going into the playoffs. I would love that, Billy, and I hope that your optimism uh, carries us, man. I really do. I tend to be more of an optimistic person, but I just don't know that we. It's hard, man. We got the Chiefs in our division, and they're the number one team right now, and that sucks, right? Um, but it is what it is, right? I still think that we're gonna make a playoff run, and I think that what we've seen so far in the preseason isn't necessarily fully reflective of what we're gonna see when we actually get out there in the regular season. We're gonna have all of our starters out there. We're gonna have Colton Miller, um, and they're gonna bust out the whole playbook, right? You don't want to show your hand before you actually get into the real season. So, we got a couple of things for an advantage there. I just have to see more this off season, and it's still a huge unknown. Dave, you're exactly right, man. But what I think about when you say this, the first thing that came to mind was the last couple of years. We went into the preseason and we looked good, man. We look so good, and we're winning. We're going 3-0 in the preseason, and you know, just excited. And then all of a sudden we get to the regular season, and it's like everybody else brings their starters on the field, and now we're looking like the B team, and I'm like, no, this is not good. Wait, what's happening? What happened to preseason form? What happened to that? So for us to look not so great in the preseason, hoping that that means that we walk into the regular season and we're looking good, right? Uh, they any going to do a three-peat will have something to say. We go to the playoffs. You know what, man? Yeah, I don't believe that they're going to get that three-peat, and I think that we need to do everything in our power to keep that from happening, man. And so I think that we have that hanging over our heads. We have, there's the whole beef with the Kermit, the frog puppet. There's we beat them on Christmas last year, which was amazing Christmas. But they also played the 49ers in our stadium for the Super Bowl, and they won, and they planted that Chiefs flag in midfield in Allegiant Stadium. And that's some shit that our players are going to remember, right? They don't want that to happen again. They don't want anything like that to happen again. And so I think that we're going to go out there and play extra hard against them. And I would love it, man. I would love to see a year where we beat them in both games again. It's been way too long, man. Yeah, craziness, man. So really, man, I got some tacos barilla that's getting cold in the other room, man. I'm getting hungry, dude. So I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna bounce for tonight. Um, so the thing about Friday, man, and I forgot I was supposed to figure this out before I came on today, um, is that I might have a schedule conflict with doing a watch party. So if I am not doing the watch party, I'm going to do the live in the morning. If I am going to do the watch party, then I will not do the live in the morning, right? James, man, you on the late show, but I'm glad you made it. Raiders. So, yeah, dude, like I'm in a position that I cannot guarantee that I'm going to be doing a watch party for the 49ers game. I do want to, man. And so just keep an eye out, man. Either way, I'll be on at some point on Friday, whether it's in the morning or whether it's for the game. So keep an eye out for me. I'll make sure to put out a thumbnail in advance. That way you guys can see it. Definitely much love, Nation. And as always, I'll see you on the next one.